Steve Schmidt is a Republican consultant. He's worked on many campaigns, including John McCain's. And boy, he is furious about Donald Trump's fail surrounding the NFL. Now, as you guys all know, Kaepernick took a knee. He was protesting police brutality and all the unarmed black men in America being shot, and just overall better training for cops and more responsive to the community. I find that protest to be so uncontroversial, but a lot of the NFL owners did not agree, and you know the rest of the story where Donald Trump comes out and attacks in Alabama and says that anyone who takes a knee should be fired and calls him son of a bitch, etc. The whole NFL, pretty much hundreds of players, and by the way, coaches and now NFL owners taking a knee and joining in the protests in response. But nonetheless, I was a little surprised by Steve Schmidt's reaction because it is so vociferous. So this is a Republican talking about this issue. Watch.
To see him try to hijack this symbol, to wrap himself in it for the purposes premeditatedly, purposefully of dividing the country is the most disgusting thing I've seen in my lifetime, in my 47 years. And what Donald Trump is doing here is as terrible a thing, and maybe the most terrible thing that has ever been done to this country by a president of the United States. Despicable doesn't begin to describe.
So I actually think that Trump's done worse. And by the way, I think Bush has done worse in some ways. And look, the Iraq War killed hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians. But I love his anger and his rage at him dividing us, and that's exactly what he's trying to do. You know, and here Schmidt is going to get even more specific. Listen.
I saw a handsome young man on TV, an NFL player, and he got a little bit jammed up when the reporter asked him a question, is he a racist? And he didn't want to say it, so let me say it. I want to help him out. He's a racist, okay? You look at that speech in Alabama to an all-white crowd, right? We need to get real about this in this country. President of the United States goes down there, and he talks about us and those people. He came proverbially as close as you could possibly come to shouting in a rally the N-word. That's what he did down there. I know it, you know it, Harold knows it, we all know it. And for the Republican Party and its leaders, but for every decent American, we're coming up on the line where enough's enough with this. What he's doing to the country is tragic.
Okay, very strong words, which I really appreciate. But he's not alone. You know, a lot of people are shaken by this. Again, I think Trump's done worse. I think Trump's done way worse on the issue of race. You know, there's 1,000 things that go into here. Birtherism, obviously, his response to Charlottesville, let alone what he did with the Central Park five black kids accused of rape. And he wanted them executed. It turns out later that they didn't do it. Even after he found out they didn't do it, he still said they should stay in jail, which is just outrageous, and there's no reason for it other than race. And here Schmidt's pointing out, look, when you talk about us versus them, but not like a slip of the tongue, but you keep saying it over and over again, we know which direction you're going with this. This is not coded language, this is obvious language. And then later in the show, we're gonna have a story for you guys. And if you guys don't know, show's live every day, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Check it out on tytnetwork.com or youtube.com/tyt. And Anna's gonna come later in the program and tell us about a focus group that CNN did of Trump supporters. And one of them asking the question of, wait, why is Trump criticizing black NFL players way more harshly than he's criticizing neo-Nazis? I mean, he's very tepid after Charlottesville, but somebody takes a knee saying don't do police brutality, and he comes at him guns blazing, son of a bitch, should be fired, and does it over and over and over again. So although there have been worse issues, I think what resonated with Steve Schmidt and a lot of the Trump voters here is the NFL is a giant part of America, and they pay attention to that. And so when they saw him do it so publicly about such a big issue in their lives, it becomes a little harder to turn your eyes, and I think that his issues with race became more obvious to at least more people in the country, and Steve Schmidt just calling it out. And remember, he's a Republican strategist. So what he's trying to do there is not to do damage to the Republican Party. In his own way of thinking about it, he's trying to rescue the Republican Party. He's like, look, if we get stuck with this brand that we're the guys who are tepid about neo-Nazis, we're the guys who are the racists, that's gonna destroy the Republican Party in the long run. And I think he's trying to do the right thing and separate Trump from the rest of them. But let's keep it real. The Republicans had 17 choices in the primary. They chose Trump. And yes, he hadn't made the NFL comments yet, but he'd made plenty of those comments earlier. He had started birtherism. They knew what they were getting. And so Steve Schmidt might want to also look at the Republican voters. But meanwhile, it is much appreciated that he had the courage to call it what it is. Watch the Young Turks commercial-free, download it or stream it, watch it any way you like at tytnetwork.com/join.